guests in the studio as we wait for the very last guest who is supposed to be here, whose documents have preceded his entrance into the studio. So let me introduce my guest. We start whilst we wait for Abdul Malik Kokobako, editor-in-chief of the New Crusading Guide, to get ready and join us. And in the studio, from my extreme left, is Inusaf Hussaini. He's MP and ranking member, Legal, Constitutional and Parliamentary Affairs. Next to him is Alexander Kwamina Afenyo-Marking. He is MP, member, Public Accounts, Defence and Interior Committee of Parliament. And to my right, immediately, is member Isaac Adongo, is MP, member, Finance Committee of Parliament. Gentlemen, good morning, and thank you for joining us.
Morning, Council.
Right. In Parliament this week, it's been interesting. You have been talking about stuff that people have been discussing all over the place. I'm talking about you. He's pretending he doesn't know he's the one I'm talking about.
But we've all been talking.
I didn't talk.
He's been talking about, sex education at home and how important it is.
Okay.
Yes. It. Oh, but you followed that. Okay. Right. So the man whose documents are here in packs is joining us. Yes, please join us. Abdul Malik Kokobako. And as you know, we have tabled a number of issues to deal with. And these issues include the fact that BOST is back in the news for allegedly causing financial loss of 30 million cedis. The claims have been repudiated as being spurious and unfounded, and they have attracted a defamation suit coming from the BOST boss. And I told you also, as you already know, in the coming days, the former Cocoa Board chief, Dr. Opuni, and a businessman, Seidu Agongo, will be in court to answer 27 different criminal charges for causing financial loss of over 2 billion to the Republic. There is also the allegation of 1,800 cars scam at Maslock. What's going on? Scam, allegations of corruption everywhere. What is this? And suspected conflict of interest at the NLA, where sister-in-law gets a near 600,000 contract. A contract done in ways suspected to have been cleverly done to outwit the procurement process or breach it, in fact. And we will visit the gold fields to try and supervise some eviction at that place. It is called retrenchment. And then we'll take some detour, get to Nima, where some eviction is also going on there. So we'll do some eviction supervision as well. Thank you very much. Kuku, thanks for coming.
Yeah, thank you.
Today your documents were here long before yourself. It's unusual. So he was wondering if you were coming.
Oh, really?
Right.
That's right.
Yeah.
I'm
okay.
Okay.
Good.
Yeah.
So we will begin from the allegations of loss of 23 million or 30 million. It looks like those who are making the allegations themselves cannot be too sure about the figures. So they say 23 million in one breath, and they say 30 million in another breath. And we are going to look at that issue where COPEC is accusing BOST of causing financial loss over the sale of crude oil, and about the fact that this time again, there's crude oil purchased by an entity that didn't have a license. Should it have had a license? These will be answered shortly. So, where do I start? Okay, so let me start with Isaac. How have you, as it were, processed the allegations that have come from BOST? And this is the second time, so people are paying attention to that place. And the reactions that have come from BOST itself.
Yeah, good morning to you and to my colleague panelists and to cherished viewers and listeners. It's been a while since I've been here, and it's good to be here. Well, I think BOST is often in the news in the last couple of months for the very wrong reasons. And as a country, I would wish that we get more positive information from such a strategic asset, because we do know that strategic stocks are very important to our country. But often, any time we have heard about BOST in the last couple of months, it's been that one product or the other has been sold in a way that is deemed inappropriate. In the current circumstance, BOST is reported to have sold certain crude that it imported into the country.
Right.
Now, this crude was basically meant to be processed by Tor, but at the time when they wanted Tor to process it, Tor had a challenge because it has to engage in some maintenance. And by the time they finished the maintenance, the product had been sold to, I think, BB Energy. Now, the question that arises is whether or not it took Tor so long to do the maintenance that it necessitated BOST having to dispose of the product. The information we are picking is that subsequently when BB Energy bought the product, it subsequently processed it at all. What that means is that we could have actually waited and processed the product at all. So why did we have to sell it? I think those are the questions. And if you had to sell it at all costs, did we ensure that the processes were such that there will be value for money? I think these are the basic issues. And to ensure that the regulatory environment within which BOST and other players in the downstream petroleum sector are supposed to operate are duly respected. So these are basically essentially the issues that have come up. The first question as to whether or not BOST could have waited for Tor to finish, given the hindsight that the product was eventually processed at Tor, if that is true, it means that we could have waited for Tor to be back and running. And of course, we could have been engaging Tor to find out what the schedule is. How long is it taking them? Are they able to finish within a certain period within which we thought that the time frame was okay for us to get them to process the product?
Okay.
So that
we should deal with that extensively because that is what the problem actually hinges on. But let's listen to the COPEC executive director, is it, or secretary, who made the claim, and that is Duncan Amoah, who made the allegations. We'll listen to him, and then we'll listen to Albert Mante of the BOST, the reaction that was brought forward. Let's listen to these two gentlemen and return to the studio.
So there's been a sale of 1.8 million barrels of crude. The initial volume was about 2 million barrels, which Tor had processed some. As to whether it is being accounted for properly, that is another day's issue. Now, it is on record that BOST, who imported the product, has sold off. Now, the question as to whether it was right to sell is another question that would also, have to be answered in the coming days. What we found, however, is to the effect that BOST went selling at a time that prices were going up on the world market. BOST was the only company across the world that was selling crude for lower, than the benchmark. At the time prices were going up by the day, it moved from the 50s to 60, it even crossed 70. BOST was the only company across the world that would agree to sell crude at a discount of $2, not $1. BOST could have sold this product cheaply for the Brent plus a premium of $0.82 as of September 2017. BOST decided to negotiate and agree on a discount whose basis you struggle hard to fathom. We've probed and pushed for answers. They are not coming. The only bit we now realize is that a transactional loss of about $5.4 million would have been occasioned per this transaction alone from BOST and BB Energy. The bit that is also intriguing is that you are selling products in tank at Temoyo Refinery to a company that is not licensed by the NPA. Now, Tor is having to accept $3.50 from BB Energy, the private company that buys the crude from BOST. So there are losses across the chain, and we think that the special prosecutor must be interested in this one. IOCO must be interested in this one. The police CID must be interested in this one.
Whenever we bring crude into the country, we generate what we call out-time report. This is the way it looks. It's signed by the ship captain. It's signed by the inspectorate. It's signed by the buyer rep. It's signed by the seller rep. It's signed by an independent person doing the quality test. This is it. The product that came in, I'm talking about not the one we sold. The actual product that came in was around 945,000 thereabout. No, that was what was sold. You have to understand something in this industry. It's not cement. So if you bring 5, you cannot take out 5. It's liquid that pass through pipes that will use certain things to determine the quantity. Okay? So the quantity that came in was around 945 and so. But the quantity that we sold was around 942,000 because that is what is called pumpable. It means that if you put it in this water, you want it pumped back, you can't have access to everything. Okay? So that is what went. So the question is, if the quantity that came in was 940, how do you sell 1.8? How do you sell 1.8? You see, so these are baseless accusations. Baseless.
Right. So you heard those two gentlemen. How, to start with, how does that sound to you? Because we'll come to the other aspects about when this crude was brought in and the problems that, you know, BOST faced and Tor actually faced itself, the matters of a suit that was pending and how LCs had been issued and promises had failed, and eventually the need to sell off this crude to be able to stop the court process and to, you know, get money to keep the place going, so to speak. Then the question of license or non-license, where they are, you know, repudiating and saying that they don't have to have, the entity doesn't have to have a license. So they are saying 1.8 million of the crude was traded to BB Energy. BOST's response is that that's the beginning of how faulty your claims are.
Well, I think there are two issues. The fact that you don't get the quantity right doesn't make the claim completely false. I mean, something has happened.
Right.
BOST has come out to confirm that something has happened, but not in the exact quantities that you mentioned. Right. I think that is fair enough. If only that is a true position, that is fair enough. That doesn't really make the argument flawed. The other issues have to be answered. So you've answered the issue of the quantity, and you are very confident that your quantity that you got, per all the technical issues involved in losing some of them through evaporation and all of that, this is what you have. That is understood. The next question is they say you sold it at a discount of $2 because you sold it on free on board. Now, what is free on board? Are international prices of crude, because the question is, you are comparing the price we are selling it to the price at which the product would have been sold based on the benchmark price. Are international prices quoted free on board? If yes, why do you give a discount? Because then it is the same price, whether I'm buying it in Singapore or I'm buying it anywhere else. If it is priced on free on board, the question then is, what is it about free on board that makes you give a discount? So if I'm buying a car in the United States to bring to Ghana, I buy it free on board. The other cost of shipping the car plus the insurance is borne by me. Will the car company basically give me a discount because I'm buying it in the US and I'll be bringing it to Ghana? So I find it difficult to see how free on board pricing will necessitate a discount. That is very flawed. Now, if you sell free on board, the assumption is that you are exporting the product back to another country. What are the requirements in Ghana if you have to buy a product in Ghana and export the product? Now, if the product was processed at Tor, how does Tor ship the product out? Does TOR has a reverse flow with a facility intended to ensure that TOR processes and exports? That is one point you have to satisfy. Now, if TOR is processing for a customer domiciled in Ghana, does that company has the right to export crude or processed product out of our country? These are very basic questions. What are the regulations? To import crude into this country, you need a trade license. Okay, you need a trade license to import crude into this country. The second one is that to operate as an exporter of product, you need an export license. You need an export license because you are doing a transshipment. That is why when you are exporting a product from Ghana, from any of our tank farms, to either Niger or to Mali or to any of our landlocked countries, you are not paying the applicable taxes because the product is not going to be used in Ghana here. The only way we ensure that this product is basically destinated for a country other than Ghana, and for which reason we are not imposing the taxes, is because you have been licensed to do that transaction. And that even the trucks that are loading the product are so tracked to the extent that when you now send the product to the landlord country, you must bring certified document back to NPA to show that, in fact, the product left the shore of this country, it arrived as a designated way-bill destination, a particular customer in the designated country took the product, and for which reason it wasn't used in Ghana, and so your taxes cannot be paid. It is an export trade. Does BB Energy has the license to engage in export of processed products from Ghana? Okay. And what is the BB Energy?
Does it not?
I don't know. That is a question to be answered. That is why we should be interested in knowing.
They have had a relationship with us for many years, we are told.
Yes.
What is different?
No, you could have a relationship with me. You could be, buying a product, a whole vessel, and selling it to a Ghanaian partner who has a license to buy it from you. Okay? So I could be bringing vessels of crude to sell to BOST, which itself has a trade license to buy.
In fact, we are told that it is partly the basis of our long relationship with them that got them to take this crude at, is it $2 per dollar discount? Otherwise, all others were insisting on the minimum, which is $5 per barrel.
Can they prove that? You see,
and that even though BB Energy initially also insisted on $5 per barrel, they eventually gave it, agreed to take it at $2 per barrel. So we've had some savings.
When you are coming to explain an issue away, an issue as critical as this, and you are armed with all the information, don't leave any doubt in anybody's mind.
Okay.
If there have been, definitely you don't just have verbal communication to establish this. If there have been a request for proposals from specific or a number of buyers of that product, make it available. So Ghanaians know that several people were invited to show interest in this product. It kills the matter of competition. Then the proposals that you received, if you got proposals that concretely said that we will charge you above this price by $5, and somebody is willing to do it at a certain price, that is also public knowledge. Okay, that level of documentation has to be made available in order to kill the story. Now, but when you now come to tell us things, and you say that you sold it at free on board, and you gave a discount of 2 cedis, the question is
$2.
The question is, when you sell free on board, do you ordinarily get a discount? If somebody is buying, because if the argument, and I read the statement, if the statement is that because you sold free on board, you gave a discount, is that a no? That anytime you buy a product on free on board, okay, then what price were you going to sell to be able to get the additional price? You're going to have cost insurance and freight. So the question is, if BB Energy, I mean the industry, there are operators in the downstream petroleum sector. They have specific areas of interest, okay? And they license per their area of interest. So if BB Energy traditionally has not been interested in operating within Ghana, but has been interested in bringing product to people who are interested in buying them with their licenses, and now you have an issue and he does buy the product from you and begin to process it in Ghana, whether for export or not, He falls within a different area of operation. That is why you have those businesses that are interested in only trade. They are interested in only importing the product. There are those who are interested in addition to trade are also bulk distributors. They get a license for bulk distribution. And there are also those who integrate their business to an OMC. So they get an OMC license to do retailing of the product on the market. And there are also those who go on to say that I even want to be a logistic player for a landlocked country or to export the product by transshipment, and I get an export license for that.
Okay.
So are we looking at a potential? Because in my case, all I'm saying is that in the national interest,
Okay, so
don't let this speculation persist.
Right.
Just put out the information and everybody will go to rest.
okay, they seem to suggest that they are putting out as much information as is required, but those who are making the allegations just want to hang on and don't want to listen to what ought to be done. For example, you speak about the license and you repeat that license ought to have been produced, or the BB Energy ought to have had a license. They say that, for example, that it is a serious falsehood peddled by Duncan Amwa and his COPEC. Other things they say may not be necessary.
Yeah, exactly.
That first of all, BB Energy is an international oil trading company with high reputation globally. It is based in London and many other countries. It must be put on record that any international oil trading company buying products from Ghana or any other country, either on FOB or CIF basis, does not require a license from that country. Therefore, BB Energy did not require local Ghanaian license before they could buy the crude from BOST on that FOB transaction that they had with them. And they say that BOST has been buying from Rotterdam, Dubai, Russia, Canada, USA, China, Singapore, name them. Does it mean that BOST should obtain, these countries' local licenses before it could purchase their products? So,
You want me to answer that?
if you can say something in a minute about that. Yeah.
You can't use other countries' laws. You see, you are buying a product into my country. The product comes here by a licensed person to bring the product into my country, which is BOST. The product comes. You buy it in Ghana because you are an international player. You process it in Ghana because you are an international player. And you export it out of Ghana because you are an international player. Is that the extent of our regulation? That any international player can come into our country, buy a crude from us, process it, and ship it out? Clearly, they should be answering whether or not the role that they played in the value chain in Ghana requires a license. And not the international business of buying or selling Rotterdam.
Okay, so
Rotterdam in itself is just a term describing the kind of product.
Thank you.
It is not a location.
Thank you. So let's hear another view. And okay, so Zafia Market.
Look, thank you very much indeed. Honorable Agdongo is someone I respect a lot. He argues well. But for the first time, he's joined a certain speculation. Oh, wait. And he has not been able to act conclusively. And I would quote him this morning. He says that he's inviting BOST to do this, that in the national interest, don't let the speculations persist. That is what he's asking BOST to do. This is what he said. Then you ask him again, is whether or not he knows, as a matter of fact, of BB Energy having the requisite license. He says he doesn't know. Somebody should come and tell us. In his conclusion again, he says, whether the role played in the value chain required a license. Look, let's draw a distinction here. In a corporate world, where everything is regular, you are not required to come out and explain how your business is conducted. That is a matter of fact. However, if anybody has any cause to believe that something has been done irregularly, that person is supposed to come out with fact. Speculation is not fact. That you must know. COPEC cannot come.
I will intervene.
No, but I mean,
if you'll be misquoting and
please,
I will
please. I'm not misquoting you. Please,
Okay.
I've been very careful
Okay.
in how I'm approaching the issue.
Okay.
Yes, so keep quiet.
Oh,
You see, the point is,
Come on.
COPEC itself did not come out with any substance by way of allegation. I listened to the gentleman, Duncan Amo or something.
Yes, it's Duncan Amo.
Mr. Duncan Amo, I think is the director of COPEC or the lead spokesperson. And all he's saying is trying to shift and asking BOST to answer certain questions. Why? Is it a new trend that you speculate so then I can just get up and say, Honorable Adongo did this and that. He should come and explain why this may be true or not. That is not the way to do things. That is not right. It's an agenda setting. And if you set the agenda wrongly, you must eat the humble pie and back out. Why? Were we not in this country? When the same man was accused of having sold contaminated fuel, when we finally delved into the matter, it came to light that at the time that contaminated fuel, the fuel was contaminated, the man had not even assumed office. He came in 23rd January. The matter occurred on the 16th of January. This is a matter of fact. People know that. Yet there were all manner of allegations. We cannot do that. Again, what is the interest of COPEC? I can quote on authority that per information from the Registrar General's Department, a certain Bernardo Wusu, who is a staff of BOST, is a director of COPEC. A staff of BOST is a director of COPEC. So where does COPEC stand? Is it the issue of some staff members who want to do in the company, who want to embarrass the CEO, or the CEO has been targeted?
COPEC has been there.
Oh, I'm not.
It was not.
I'm not saying it is just. Get the angle.
No, because you are mentioning if they want to disgrace the CEO or do something to the CEO.
My point is,
they have been in town for a while.
I'm not denying that.
Okay.
COPEC is a registered entity, not so.
Right.
My argument is a staff of BOST. It's a director of COPEC. It's part of COPEC. That is my argument.
Where is your evidence?
I am telling you that on authority.
What is your authority?
I don't need to have the paper.
You are not an authority.
I don't go. I think you should be more civil on this, please.
Oh, when you insulted me,
I've not insulted you.
Please,
It's not a matter of insult.
Okay.
You made your submissions. All of us.
It's okay. So can we proceed? You say that you have checked at the registrar.
Yes, and it's a staff of BOST, who is a director of COPEC.
Okay.
All right. You cannot now be the very company.
What is wrong with that?
I will establish that. Why?
That is assuming it is true. What is wrong with that?
Exactly. You are a staff of BOST. The entity that you work with, you are supposed to be acting in the company's interest. You cannot, in one breath, be acting for a company and then you are the same person being part of an entity making an allegation against a company. Where do you stand? Is it that you are feeding that other entity you belong with wrong information to embarrass the company? That is the question. Because COPEC is not being factual. It's being speculative. And this morning, my respected colleague is repeating that same speculation.
Okay, so let's deal with the substance.
They say they don't need a license.
Let's deal with the substance.
Did you?
Don't need a license.
Sorry. Can we do it this way?
Whether or not
Can we
they
do
have
it
a
this
license?
way? Sorry.
Were you able to tell us whether or not they have a license?
Sorry. Don't
Were you
interfere.
able to tell
Please
us
don't
whether or
interject.
not?
Don't interject.
All
You make
your
notes.
arguments.
Make
Were
notes.
you able to state on record? Were you able to make any factual submission? You could not.
I want to
What
redirect
is
you
factual
to
submission?
focus.
You are
No, don't
Please.
reply. Don't
You were
reply.
only-
And don't interject.
You were only
Just
adding
make
to the
notes.
speculation.
Just make notes.
I'm
Just make
referring to
notes.
you because you have made a submission
Right.
this morning.
So I'm saying that.
You are adding to the speculation of Duncan Amwa.
I'm saying that let's stay on the issues. If it has to do and it is proving that there's someone in the company who has joined an NGO that is doing whatever, I think that the civil service rules will have to apply whether that is proper or it is not. it does appear that would not be proper. But that is assuming this is true. So you are saying that the allegations are not correct.
What are
Number one, on the basis of the license, you have spoken to that. Can we proceed further to
what is the next allegation?
Yeah, the license is the second part.
Yes, so what is the first allegation?
The first part is that on the basis of the sale and at a discount of $2 per barrel,
yes,
we could have gotten it at what?
Another speculation.
No, sorry. That is where we were shortchanged.
Yeah, you see,
and it was being sold at the time when the price was so cheap. Else,
was going up.
Was going up
at
elsewhere.
what cost? What did they give us a figure? Did they give us that? Oh, at the time that BOST sold at this price, the price was at this. Were they able to tell us that?
You want me to tell you?
You see,
you want me to tell you that?
I don't go stop this. I mean, come on. Let's this news
all over the place.
Please, let's. When I finish, he says make notes. Is it the first time that BOST is dealing with BB Energy? What has been the precedent? What has been their past dealings? You can't come out and say, oh, you sold at this. Then speculative, you say, oh, you could have. On what basis are you making that argument? Are you saying that you know as a matter of fact that at the time that it was sold at X amount, it was being traded at a certain amount. Hence, there is a loss of this amount. So, there's financial loss. In all your submissions, we never heard that. In the submissions of Mr. Duncan Amo, he never said that. Why? What is this realm of speculation? Or because you want to set a certain agenda? Let's be at least fair to the chief executive and the boss.
They are saying that you are selling it at FOB, free on board, they say, which means that if you had done it by what they call the CIF,
of what amount? We are dealing with numbers.
If you had done it by CIF, the seller, that is BOST, would have paid for the freight and insurance. Okay, and insurance. But you do it at FOB, which means that what? The one who is buying
Counsel.
Is the one is the, wait just hold it
already.
The one who is buying I've not referred to it. I've not done that. The one who is buying is the one to do the insurance and the freight, whatever it is. The product happened to have been processed in Ghana, which was not the initial, plan.
Counsel, when we all go to court, after making all the submissions, the judges will ask, what are the issues? I repeat, what is the issue? You see, to come out to make an allegation, you must anchor it on a fact. You must have your set of facts. You are dealing with numbers. You have made an allegation of causing financial loss to the state. You are calling on the BNI to investigate. You are calling on the special prosecutor. You are calling on the police CID. No problem. On what are they supposed to do their investigation? You must tell us that, you sold at X amount. It should have been so at the time you sold.
They have said so. They have told you that. They have told you that you gave a discount of $2 per barrel.
They have not provided any fee. They have not provided figures.
They have said you gave at a discount of $2 per barrel.
Instead of
it ought to have been 0.85.
Where is that?
That's what they are talking to you about. And that is how come they are able to calculate the loss that they say
but you yourself said, in the submission said, the figure they gave out, BOST came to say, look, you are wrong. And then he himself conceded.
Where?
He himself conceded.
That's the total. That's the quantum. That's the quantum. They said 1.8 million barrels.
Another speculation
about me.
Another speculation.
And BOST says it's not 1.8 million barrels, but it is 942,000.
Which is a quantum.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
So why another speculation? You see,
speculation?
Samson, to me, this whole thing, it's one thing just putting out a story and shifting the burden and asking for strict liability, or asking that, yes, I've said it, you must prove it.
Okay.
Another thing, you yourself coming out with the facts, detailing them out and saying, look, these are my facts.
Okay.
I've listened to the man
For 2 minutes.
I've listened. Why I should listen to him more?
They cut part of it. So
which other part?
Okay, thank you. Let's hear Kweku now. Let's hear
He
Kweku
said
now.
nothing.
Thank you, gentlemen.
It's
Thank
another
you.
agenda setting.
Thank you, gentlemen. Let's hear Kweku now. Kweku, what do you know about the whole process, and what is your understanding? What's your understanding of what is right or wrong as far as the allegations and counter allegations are concerned?
Well. And I would, with your kind permission, I want to do something unrelated to the subject matter. At least just about 30-45 seconds. This has been a very powerful platform, and I'm sure you give me that privilege.
If you're going to talk about Anas, I would have done that.
I'll be here for years,
Okay,
from
all
the
right.
beginning.
Please go on.
I had this from a friend, a Facebook friend, and it appears that somebody has decided to open a new Facebook account in my name. And of course, his Kweku is an A. Mine is a E.
Right, KWE.
Yes, and I'm not the only Kweku back home on earth. But in this case, incidentally, he has my picture
Okay.
there as the one, and he's put out there asking people, requesting, people to be part of his Facebook account.
Okay.
Presumably, it's me.
Right.
I just want the world to know that I don't run this account. I don't know what mischief. And the motto is, the truth is not libel. This is this.
Okay.
So I want my
Right.
followers and
Right.
friends to know I have nothing to do with this particular account.
Okay,
A lot
thank
of
you.
mischief is ongoing, unfolding on social media, and I don't want to be part of any mischief.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Now, you know something? I've been thinking deeply about this thing. And whilst I think COPEC is entitled to, expose corruption, fight corruption, make a public statement, that is to engage in public advocacy relative to the fight against corruption. And nobody can take that right away from them. I would also plead, and this is a plea with them, that as implied in what Duncan Amwa was saying, this could be a subject matter for investigations by the police, UOKU, and the Office of the Special Prosecutor. I will plead with COPEC and civil society groups to upgrade the fight by, after public advocacy, to petition the agencies of state, the creatures of law that we have put in place to deal with these issues. It helps so that we don't just get trapped in just the court of public opinion and debate, where indeed you hardly get final solutions or the appropriate cure for the mischief that we all perceive. So I will plead with them that they should go one step beyond what they have done, which I'm not condemning, and I'll give the evidence they have to either the Office of the Special Prosecutor or any of the agencies Duncan Amwa mentioned, so that we can deal with the things well. Here I am. You've invited me to have my bite or a take on this matter. I'll do so. And I'll do so to the extent that my knowledge and information allow me to do. I'm not an expert in this field. I do not have the technical and professional competence to interrogate this issue thoroughly and to give answers that will satisfy everybody. I do not. I will not pretend I do have. But at least, because you made it a topic for today, sent us some research material, all those things, I decided to do some little, research, very limited, as at this stage. And I have a problem. First of all, there were a lot of discrepancies with the COPEC thing in terms of the contour of the thing. But when you played him back, I heard him say they probed and probed, but they were not getting answers. Probed and probed where and how? Because a little inquiry relative to the matter, if indeed there had been probing, the discrepancy in the figure would have been cleared by themselves before going public. So I have a funny feeling that the probing was not sufficient or was very inadequate, and yet somebody went public and put the information out there, and then all this noise unfolding.
Could be the typical situation where it's so difficult to get information, official information, which is supposed to be public information sometimes, and the reason why we are counting down on the president's promise for the right to information.
I'm part of that campaign.
So that we can compel them to give us information.
I am part of that campaign, but you know that you, with your journalistic and legal background, there are a lot of things, in spite of the absence of the RTI, that you probe and get adequate information for your clients and listeners and the audience. So there's still space for us to be able to do a better job based on due diligence than just going out there and mongering propaganda. Now, you see, let's take it issue by issue, step by step. This thing about the license, I'm technically bankrupt there, but I've come up with some ideas. I've seen some documentations. What kind of transaction did the BB Energy engage in? We have to define that. I have seen a letter or letters that BB Energy wrote to the NPA. It was dated 22nd December 2017, requesting, they were applying to be given the license to, process, that is, their dealings with Tor, to process the crude with Tor. So they wanted some waivers, authorization, and all those things. And then also subsequent to that, to sell the products, The NPA declined the application and referred to the NPA License Act, Section 11. Tor wrote to NPA agreeing in principle with NPA. But Tor itself had entered into an agreement with BB Energy to process the crude into products, and also a separate subsidiary agreement for Tor then to sell the products here, whereas the BB Energy would take what it was required to take, like creosote and the rest, outside the country for external marketing. Then BOST position is that, look, the transaction we engaged in is it the FOB and so and so. Yes. So that is different from them actually operating in here. I don't understand that. I have to be honest with you. I've read it. I don't have a full understanding, but I can get an idea. But then I saw other documentations. BB Energy has been operating here. They've been buying products long before 2017. I've seen documentation as far back as 2016 January to 2016 November, buying products. That's why I believe we need a technical people to explain. Those of us who don't understand these issues much and are talking some, quote unquote, of the issue, do not know the extensions. I'm being honest with you. I do not know the extension.
You're right, they are difficult.
But I have seen enough to show that BB Energy had been operating here. I've seen the account sheet. They were buying products. There's some product they call, is it naphtha or something?
Yes.
There's a kerosene, there's crude oil. They've been engaged in it here, in this country. Were they required? Did they have the authorization to do that? It looks as if the argument by some experts in the industry is that the area in which they were operating, that was okay. BOST is making a similar claim. If we got the experts to show us the extension, you see, and perhaps for purposes of radio and TV analysis, yes, but when it comes to the investigators, they will be able to tell which is which. Because if indeed BB Energy had no right in terms of licensing to go into the transaction it went into with BOST as well as TOR, then there's a violation. And then those who are responsible for that ought to be called to account. But if indeed precedents as well as the legal regime or industry practice shows that what had happened was not unusual, then in context, we all have to be a bit sober and fair in analyzing the matter. I say this because, you see, out there too are people who are seeking propaganda capital. We have too many merchants of propaganda these days. Too many merchants, or mongers, if you like. And there's an attempt, a very deliberate, conscious attempt to aggregate, create an aggregation of all sorts of issues, some serious, some not serious, put it out there, get everybody thinking in a certain direction. We got to stop that. It didn't start today, I have to be honest. It's been going on for a very long, long time. And this is why I began by saying that I would have loved if COPEC, beyond the press conference, had taken their matter to an appropriate quarters so that we can have a focused inquiry which will lead us to, good answers. Right now, there's too much confusion out there. I also realized that with all this going on, BOST apparently were in court in the UK.
The
original...
They had been joined to a suit.
Fantastic.
That was taken by
British Petroleum.
British Petroleum.
Who were the original owners of the product.
That's so.
And all that came on board in terms of the negotiations and letters of credit and all. So if you have to be sober and find out, did the BOST management, within the circumstances of the issue, the issues they were confronted with, the constraints, was the transaction proper or not proper? As I sit here, even though I don't have all the technical knowledge, I'm inclined to think that I don't think they did something that has led to the financial law, willfully causing financial loss to the state. That is my uneducated, uninformed judgment at this stage.
Okay. Let's hear from Ines of Seni, and it does appear that from their explanation, the original intent was for TOR to pump back.
Yeah.
But after a long while, and after all the contracts had been entered into, they realized that TOR did not have the capacity, like he suggested, to pump back. And then, whilst it did not have that, they needed to wait for a long time for it to have that capacity and the reverse capacity, and waiting for that was not also going to work because it was going to cost.
Letters of credit, notice, everything had expired.
And the banks that issued the LC, there were all issues that were coming up, and they just couldn't do that because the cost in doing so would have meant that there would not be value even if you had to sell the product in the end. So the eventual decision to have TOR rather process the product rather than pump it back for the one who was buying.
Exactly. But let me join you in urging the President to bring to Parliament the Right to Information Bill. At least he promised on the 6th of March that it will be considered this term of Parliament. We have got 4 days, not 10 days, 4 days to go, from Tuesday to Friday.
Right.
The least the President can
Parliament
do.
is rising.
On Friday.
On Friday.
But the President, did he mean this particular?
Yes, this particular. Yeah. So the least he can do is to lay the bill in Parliament.
I agree.
Now,
The RTI Action Campaign Group is actually saying the President was not realistic.
Well,
when he said on the 6th of March that he will lay it and have it passed before this particular
Meeting. They said meeting.
meeting ends.
The meeting is
We are saying in the least, at the minimum,
you
you
should
should
just
just lay it.
Because we, as you introduced me as the ranking member for constitutional legal, the
Right.
bill will come to us, and we have said that when it comes to us, we will take it through the same format
Okay.
that we took the office of special prosecutor through. We'll do
Let's go to this issue.
But
Yeah.
is there much
About
to
the BOST.
do? Is there anything real?
well, you don't know
It's
the
like the deputy speaker said, this bill had been ready when they shut it down
when Nkrumah was in Guinea.
in November
matching them
2016.
cause that.
Okay, let's go.
Well, but Samson,
Yes.
BOST, it's a very interesting matter, and that we ought to remove emotions out of this. Has COPEC raised interesting issues? Yes. On the face of it, prima facie, is there some wrongdoing? Yes.
Is there?
Yes, on the face of it,
Prima
on the
facie.
face. Prima facie. Because there is a reduction, a discount. There is the mention of FOB. There is the mention of CIF. The question you and I will ask, when was possession in the crude to pass? FOB and CIF have legal implications. When was possession to pass? The crude was in tanks, institute, at Tor. Possession passed where? In Ghana here? So if possession passed over to the purchaser in Ghana, how does FOB come in? Which ship was going to carry the crude? That will require that you either pay insurance and freight. So these are interesting issues. Now, so 2, the decision to dispose of the crude was a discretionary decision. Not so? Vested in the executive director, or what's his position?
or management of
Or managing
The management,
director,
the management,
or managing director of BOST.
He's the chief executive.
Because he said that we must trust that he will take decisions in the best interest of this country. So he appreciates that he was exercising a discretion. In the release that he gave out, he said he will take decisions in the interest, ultimate interest of the state. Now, I don't know whether he averted his mind to Article 296 on the exercise of discretion. You must be fair and candid. You must exercise the discretion in accordance with the due process of law. And then you must publish regulations on how you intend to exercise the discretion. But he exercises the discretion. And so that is why I said that on the face of it, there appear to be some issues. So if, for instance, Alfred Obin decided to discount the sale of the product by $2, what informed that decision?
There were other lines, margins, some 6, some 5.
Yes, but what informed the discretion to offload the product that was sitting in Tor over a period of 7 months at a discount of $2? You and I need to know, because that's our product. That's not Alfred Obin's product, except that we had given him authority to act on our behalf. So if he fails, refuses, or neglects to explain to us, we are entitled to form an opinion.
The explanation is that this 10 crude, which on the 10th of December 2016 was being refined by Tor. Unfortunately, Tor broke down. So the crude was left in Tor's system, awaiting Tor's machines to be fixed for the refining to continue. Meanwhile, the supplier had given them 90 days credit period with a grace period of 30 days. The credit period of 90 days together with 30 days grace period elapsed on the 2nd of May 2017. At this time, Tor's problems had not been fixed, so they could not pay the supplier upon several demands made by the supplier, that's British Petroleum BP, and a lot of things happened, and they had to later open and confirm letters of credit with the hope that before it matures, that was for 90 days, before it matures, Tor would have refined the crude and sold to make money available to the bank to honor the LC. The LC became matured in September and October 2017, but all this while, Tor's problems had not been fixed to refine the crude, leaving BOST in a state of desperation. This is what led to all of this.
What you have just read to me is an ex facto rationalization of that act. They sold the product. We raised issues. And they are now explaining to us why they took the decision.
Are you saying they should have come to explain to you before they
should have told us exactly? No. They should have told us exactly in a situation like that how they will act. Emmy, you and I should be able to assess in a situation where they have crude sitting with debt on them, how they will act. Not ex facto justification of how they have acted. No.
Clarity, I don't get it.
Oh, let me explain to you. Yeah, let me explain to you.
Today, eventually, they actually got sued.
Today, you and I are being told that the reason why they disposed of the product was that the letters of administration, the letters of credit had expired, and that they had been joined in an action in the court in Britain. That's what you and I now know. Okay?
Yes.
But for Duncan Amwa, tell me, how would you have known that?
So the question is, you wanted them to come and do a broadcast to say we have this problem and this is how we're going to solve it before they sell it.
The question is, we wanted them to tell us exactly what has been stated or the situation in which they are, which will compel them to offload the product. We don't want a reactionary approach. We want a proactive approach to the problem. And that is what is our problem in this country.
This is what they say they would have done.
Yes.
They said what they did first was to give the first option to the supplier to purchase the crude back. The supplier to purchase it back. But they offered to buy it at a discount of $5 per barrel. FOB.
So they give a buyback option.
Yes, option. Because it is yours and it's sitting.
Yeah, so they made an unsolicited offer.
Yes. And then they say that they declined. And then they asked the bank, which had issued the letters of credit, to take it and pay the supplier at an agreed discount of $3.25 per barrel. After 1 week, the bank failed to sign the agreement, indicating that their consultant had advised that the crude is likely to produce more kerosene than PMS, AGO, or naphtha, and so on and so forth. Yeah.
An unsolicited. So what they are telling us is that, so in an attempt to dispose of the product, they engage in unsolicited offers to different entities. That's what they're telling us.
And they had been sued, and they needed to pay the money.
Okay, so they had been sued, and all this time, they didn't advertise the product.
Okay,
they didn't advertise
I
this
get your
product
point now.
to say that, well, we have got 900, by their account, 942,000 liters, 1,000 liters of crude sitting in, or barrels of crude sitting in tanks in Tema. We intend to dispose of this crude, and so we are receiving offers of persons interested in the crude. All this time they were making unsolicited offers. Their attention was not drawn to that. And they don't think that if they had advertised, they will get a better deal than making unsolicited offers. Which businessman in his right senses will make offers higher than what the prevailing market conditions will give if you make an unsolicited offers to him? He is not interested in the product. You say, can you buy it?
They are saying the standard discount.
I say that this is ex facto.
It's $5 per barrel.
This is ex facto.
Okay.
It's because it's ex facto, and because of the paucity of information. There's no information.
Okay.
So we're having to deal with their releases. And
those who made allegations,
and those who
didn't give us
they don't have information. And that is why
you should take it to the
because of the paucity of information, we are second guessing everything.
But you found them guilty, prima facie.
No. Not guilty.
No,
I
it's
said
a
they
prima
raised.
facie. That's why I brought free for
No, they
it's not
raised.
The very
conclusive.
people
I
who
don't. I don't find
speculating,
them guilty.
You say they are.
I don't
they
find
brought
them
the
guilty.
prima facie evidence.
You think
I
they
don't
have a
find them
case-
guilty.
They have a case to answer.
Answer. I think they have a case to answer.
That's your point.
That's my point.
Yeah.
That's the prima facie. They have a case.
Upon being speculative.
What's speculative? I'm not speculating anything.
No,
My
no,
friend,
you, no, you.
Don't throw in red
No,
herrings.
no, you.
You were throwing in red
No,
herrings.
no,
I have seen that clearly. An attempt to divert the issue from.
COPEC did not raise any issue of substance.
Look.
No, but you may have to point that out.
It's a fact.
Alexander,
You may point that out.
Alexander,
No,
Counsel,
I respect you so much. What is the issue?
You didn't like it. You didn't like it when Adon was interjecting.
I'm inviting you.
Can we do something? Can we do something? Right.
No. I yield to that. I yield to that.
Listen, you see, in this country, Ohim Menu, the great lawyer of Brown Hafu origins,
Obin
Menu, has said that repeating mistakes has never been considered as experience. My senior brother, Kokubako, has said BB Energy has been working here, has bought property. So if the argument was that you can supply, but you can't buy, to buy you need a license, it's demonstrated that
Is it factual?
No, they were buying. They were also buying.
Yes, you have demonstrated that they were also buying.
I didn't say it's by mistake.
But critically, before I speak to Duncan Amwa is on the line to answer a question that has been posed against them. Is it your take, your point that in the commodities market they do these advertisements that you require them to
everywhere?
Not always.
Oh, everywhere.
No.
I mean, I've seen a lot in
Do they?
No, but
a lot.
always.
I see. Okay.
And that is why we should establish. We should establish.
That would such a transaction require
I've seen in the Economics magazine.
I say it's not
a
always.
country that bought maize, stored the maize for a period of time, and wanted to dispose of the maize and put an advert, not only to the country's inhabitants, but to the world. That they
let's hear from the head of the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers Ghana, Duncan Amwa. Hello, Duncan Amwa. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, my brother Samson, and good morning to your panelists.
Right. We understand that you want to react to suggestions that you don't seem to have the facts and you are not doing a good job as far as putting out the facts and figures are concerned.
Very well, Samson. Let me deal with two quick issues.
Yes, very brief.
The first one to do with the volume involved, which is in contention. Indeed, there were 2 million barrels at Tor to be refined. 1.8 million barrels were eventually left when Tor had to undergo maintenance. Now, BOST insists that it traded off the remaining of the 1.8 million we had mentioned earlier to another trader, AOC. What the numbers are, we do not know. What sales purchasing agreement terms they went into, we do not know. The remaining 942 barrels is what is on record as having been sold to BB Energy. And so on the 1.8 million barrels, it was no conjecturing. If you cross-check with the Moyo refinery, those numbers would eventually come up again.
Let me understand you. Let me understand you.
His allegation.
Let me understand you. You are insisting that what we are talking about, the issue you raise, concerns 1.8 million barrels?
Yes, something. And again, I have heard BOST say on authority and on record that of the 1.8 million, they have traded off some portion of the product to AOT. That is in part of their statement they have circulated. The rest, the 942,000 barrels, is what they sold for cash from BB Energy. And so that was not a figure conjectured at all. It is on record. I still don't understand. From BOST itself.
Interesting. You are saying that the entity that has custody of the product is wrong when they say you are rather wrong.
Indeed, when you raise such issues, the expectation is that the entity will defend itself. We are not disturbed, we are not worried about the sort of defense they have put out so far, except to say that the defenses have shifted posts from one point to the other. Initially, it was to the extent that the crude has stayed for 8 months and it was going bad. They needed to sell.
I see.
Initially,
you are not. Let's do this very quickly. You are not satisfied. You are not satisfied by the explanations that I've given as to the basis of the what had happened necessitating the transaction in this particular situation. You are not satisfied?
Something. If I had a little time, you would realize that the statement being put out even yesterday, their latest statement, is only laughable to say the least. Forgive me. It's only laughable. You have engaged in the transaction, which we believe, if you had opened the process to the oil community, I am BOST. I have crude. I am no longer interested in processing and selling and getting the profit thereof. I want to dispose the crude. If you open the transaction, somebody will come and give you -5. Somebody will give you -2. Somebody will give you +1. Somebody will. I know a local company that had gone to this crude and was paying +2 to supply to Asogli. I know a local company here.
Which company is that?
So something for I had discussions with all manner of players, but they were paying +2 to supply to Asogli.
I see.
Again, we are saying that even if you took the international dynamics as of September, something, crude prices were on the upward bound. In fact, they were going up.
Yes. What is the basis? My panelists want to know this. What is the basis of the financial loss that you speak about?
Indeed, yes. Let me come to the numbers. Something. At the time, September, in fact, CPAC, which is more of the crude trade, were pegging $0.82 premium to the price of the products we sold, which is the fiber, right? So if we couldn't even recover the market value, which was the baseline, we have lost the premium as well. Again, what it means is that it is not just the $2 discount they gave that has been lost or to BOST itself. They could have engaged in a transaction that could have even seen them get as much as +5 something. And I say this on authority, +5. Because ancillary costs to the crude, as far as bringing it from the central, the ship charges, the handling charges, the throughput charges, all that had been paid already. And so this product they are discussing is a secure product that can only attract some premium, something.
Okay.
It is not a on the high.
Okay.
It had nothing to be worried about.
All right. You know what? Yeah. You know what? I think we can end it here. I'm also being reminded about the fact that suits are already in this matter, and you in particular.
But the suit I'm told is
about threats over this matter.
Threat, yes.
Yeah, over this matter. Right. Okay. Right. So thank you for your time. But that's his position. BOST has a different position.
His position is quite similar to mine.
Okay.
He said clearly that if they had opened it up, and I believe that they could have opened it up. Yes, yes.
Was there an advertisement when it was being purchased?
But Samson, look at what they said.
Was there an advertisement when it was being purchased?
They contacted other industry
players. They've given. Let's be fair to this point on the releases. They have given you others who were demanding $5 per barrel discount, and even this BB Energy also demanded $5 per barrel discount, but only later agreed to take it at $2 per barrel.
Thompson, why do you suffer yourself with such a situation? Open it up.
Okay.
Now, look at what they have said on the license. And it's very instructive. Further allegations that BB Energy processed the crude at all without a license is outside the mandate of BOST. Simply means they will not inquire whether they need a license or not. And therefore, Duncan Amwa should find out the exact arrangement between BB Energy, the exact arrangement that BB Energy had with
Tor
and MPA before accusing BOST, since same is outside the BOST responsibilities. He thinks BB Energy did so illegally. He can report same to MPA to sanction them.
Okay.
Can you imagine?
Thank you.
Can you imagine such a response?
We spent quite a lot of time on
what
this.
they are saying, what they are simply saying is that we don't have responsibility.
But there's a regulator.
Okay,
thank you. NPA is a regulator.
Thank you. Can I hear you in 1 minute?
BOST a regulator?
1 minute. Yes.
You are not being fair to BOST.
Sorry, 1 minute. We have to take a break and return to other issues.
I just want to make the point that the fact that my big brother's submission, BB Energy found it necessary to write to MPA for a license is instructive.
For processing.
Yes, it's instructive. It's instructive.
And BOST say that in their release, they say that they do not even know the terms of the contract between BB Energy and Tor.
I'm making a point. I'm saying that the fact that BB Energy found it necessary to apply for that license is instructive.
Okay.
The second point is also that the fact that BB Energy operates in Ghana, and I want to make this point.
Yeah.
NAFTA, you can't buy NAFTA without MPA approval. In fact, even the purchase order from BOST, from Ghana Gas, which is a byproduct of processing gas, has to be approved by MPA. So for anybody to be lifting NAFTA,
let's end it, because as you say, the is producing documentation.
So we cannot say that because of that. That is the point I'm making.
No, you are making an interesting point, but unfortunately, the records show that they don't have with MPA. But they were doing this business that you are.
I'm saying that NAFTA, before you pick NAFTA, MPA has to give it approval.
Yes,
NAFTA
but
is not even supposed to end up for people to consume and buy it into their
vehicles. Thank you.
Supposed to end
so
up.
COPEC should deal with MPA.
Thank you.
That's one step. They want to finish
so they should deal with
we'll
MPA.
Take a break here.
Why did they deal with
when we return, I think we can try and box NLA and Maslock together quickly, then we can move on to the matters that will be in court shortly. We'll be right back.